right. Hello, happy Thursday. I have been not I've been happy, right? But I have also been feeling yesterday and today in my spirit a little bit raw based on some recent news. I decided that I wanted to take a moment this evening and do this live on how to overcome the spirit of suicide. And I want to go into this a little bit. I want to speak on this from a spiritual perspective, and that does include our mental health as well, because we are physical beings. We are created in God's image. So we are spirit, body, and soul. So we have all these different aspects. We are complex beings. And so whatever we do here in the physical also does have spiritual connections to it. It's unavoidable. You don't have to believe it, but just because you don't have to believe it doesn't mean it's not true. So I'm going to get right into it. And yes, recently, yesterday, I came across a very sad story, and I'm not going to give his name because I just don't think that that's the point. But if you have been following news, you may know that someone who is very famous recently chose to transition his life from this physical world and leave this place. And so he's been very famous, and it's been in the news. And I think the reason I don't really feel like I want to mention his name is because I feel that everyone does deserve privacy, including families. And just because someone is a celebrity and well known and their family is well known does not really give us the right to talk about them, because we are all at the same level. We were all born into this world the same way, right? Through our mothers, and we all will be leaving this world. And then there's the in between on what we happen to choose to do with our lives. But, really, we all hurt, we all bleed, we all grieve, we all have joy, we all celebrate, right? We have so much in common. So just out of respect, I don't really feel like giving his name, but you probably know who I'm referring to if you've been following the news. So this evening, I was in a Clubhouse room that was hosted by a friend of mine, Nadine Michelle, and if you happen to be on Clubhouse or use Clubhouse, check out her room. It's the Millennial Moms in Money room. And did I get that right? Because I think I got it right. Let me just look that up for you. Yes, Millennial Moms in Money.
To the Millennial Moms in Money Club.
So I just did something wrong. But anyway, I wanted to make sure I got the name right. In case you're interested in following it. But we have many nights this great discussion on a large topic on suicide. And I felt afterwards like I needed to share this as well on my platform. And so I got off and I started thinking about this a little bit more. And I felt that it was really interesting. This was not my idea. I do genuinely feel that God was leading me in a direction, because these thoughts, these directions, it didn't come from me. I'll be honest. I should right now, what my focus on was before making this video for you all was on editing photos for a client. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's where my mind was. But instead, I felt in my heart, in my spirit, like I needed to go in this direction for a few moments this evening. So I was just taking a little bit of introduction time for people to be able to join in and you can always watch this. This is going to be on my channel, my YouTube channel. So the spirit of suicide. Okay. So suicide is part of a mental health situation, and it is also part of a spiritual situation. So why do I say that? I say that because what happens is people have different things, different thoughts that go through their minds. A lot of times with mental illness, these things are lies. They are lies about who we are, our futures, our choices. They are lies. And it says that in God's word that the enemy, Satan, comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And how does he do that? How would he get someone to do something like choose to transition from this world? Why would someone decide to do that? Why would someone decide many things? There's many things, right? A lot of times the thoughts that are going through our minds are lies, and they come from Satan, who is the father of lies, because lies are something that will kill, they will steal, and they will destroy. Lies have destroyed marriages, have destroyed relationships, right? Lies and cheating often go together. Lies and poverty often go together. Lies and what else? Lies and a lot of times disagreements, fights that we get into with other people. Though lies are often the basis for even unnecessary debates, right? There's always two sides to every story, but sometimes that debate comes about because someone is thinking or feeling a certain way, or they're believing something that may or may not be true. All right. Not always, not all arguments are based on lies, but lies are from Satan. And those lies we then take into our minds and our hearts when we believe them, and they lead us to making choices. They can lead us to having different mental illnesses, right? Depression, a lot of times anxiety, right? A lot of times these things are based on lies. Possibly someone has hurt us in the past, right? Maybe there was rape, maybe there was incest, maybe there was some sort of physical abuse or addiction that was in the home. And now as a child, we've taken that into our thoughts, and even the trauma, we're holding it in our bodies. And then when we get older and we haven't healed our past, we haven't been working actively to heal, now all of a sudden we get into situations and we start believing things like, oh my goodness, this is going to end badly. This was something that happened to me, for example, right? I'll give an example of a lie and how this can affect our future. Now, I did not decide to kill myself, but at one point I prayed for God to take my life. And I'm going to also tell a story about someone else who's famous in the Bible and where this happened, right? So what happened was I went through a very bad physical trauma. In my case, it was rape. What happened was I believed the lie that the best way to get ahead and heal was to push myself into getting to know someone new as fast as possible, right? Just move right on. Well, that did not go very well for me, okay? I showed up with the next person who I met, who I genuinely loved, believing lies about myself, believing that a woman who has been raped has been ruined. believing that because I had had an abusive relationship, that I didn't really deserve a good relationship, that no Christian man would want me because of my past. What did that mean for me? That meant that I showed up in front of this man not as myself, not confident, feeling that I didn't deserve anyone who would even take me seriously, right? These were lies that I believed about myself. And it was a serious problem. And eventually, when he didn't want me, I said, well, that just confirms my lies. Now, why would someone want me when I didn't even want myself? I didn't want to be in my body. I wanted to separate myself from my body, right? Because of this physical trauma. So I said, this must be true. I really don't deserve anything. Look, here this is proof. So I went deeper into lies, and also strangely, I felt hurt and I felt he owed me things, right? So then I believed that he owed me certain, he had made me promises and he broke them. And he had said he liked me, but then he says, oh no, I lied about it. So he lied. So now I am holding on to unforgiveness towards him and saying, oh, I believe that you owe me certain things as a result of your lies. He didn't owe me anything. No one owed me anything. But because of all of this, my mind, my thoughts went out of control, and I started having these lies. It was like stealing, killing, destroying my peace. It became very dark. The whole thing, the unforgiveness, opened me up to a whole spiritual situation where I was literally tormented in my dreams. And it got really awful. It became horrific, right? And in order to heal, I had to stop believing lies. I had to do the opposite. I had to become honest with myself. I had to trust that God was honest. I had to take an honest look. I had to start dealing in truths and leave the lies, because the lies were literally destroying my life. And at one point, I remember being on the train, and I had just bought a new camera. Now, mind you, this was a camera that I had wanted. I had not had money to purchase for a while, and I had finally gotten the funds to be able to purchase this new camera. This was in 2018, and I had just gotten the camera. I'm on the train. Camera's on my lap in a box, in a bag. I should be excited. No. I started crying on the train, and I was like, God, I know I'm supposed to be grateful for this camera. I don't want it. I'm not being loved. I've been rejected. I don't want it. I want to die. Take my life. I don't want to take mine, but I don't want to live anymore. Well, I did not get my prayer answered, because here I am. And so I am glad that God does not answer every prayer. So that actually is a side note, that God does not always answer every prayer that we have. Now, he will heal us, and he will heal us with his truth. And Satan, who is the father of lies and creates these lying spirits, he's out to steal, to kill, and destroy. And my life was being stolen from me. I didn't even want my camera, which is a way that I make money to keep a roof over my head, right? So it was very dark. And so here is what I want to share now. In this room that I was in recently this evening on Clubhouse, one of the speakers, she shared, this thought about how a few years back, after Kate Spade had chosen to transition from this world and leave this realm, this physical realm we're in, another person Anthony Bourdain had chosen to transition himself out of this realm. And she said, well, maybe it is something that like people get ideas, which made me think about this. And this is one way we can overcome the spirit of suicide. It says in 1 Peter 5, chapter 5, verse 8, be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. And I said, wait a minute. I think you are onto something. And a lion looking for someone to devour. The devil, remember, he is the father of lies. He brings lies. He gives us thoughts. Our thoughts are not always our own. And if you are questioning what I'm saying, think back just today or the past week. Think about all the thoughts that have crossed your mind, or even over your lifetime. Have you ever had a thought and you're like, where did that come from? Especially if it was a thought that was embarrassing and you were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I just thought that. I'm so glad that no one could see that thought that just passed into my mind. I'm so embarrassed that I had that thought. We've all had that. Well, where would it have come from? If we're embarrassed and it's not a thought that we want to entertain, it had to have come from somewhere. So just like some of our thoughts can be from God. And I'm going to talk about that also in a minute. But when you are like, wow, I can't believe I just knew the perfect thing to say to this person who is hurting right now, and it comforted them and gave them encouragement. Where did that idea come from? How did I know to say that to them? Well, those thoughts, those are good. They're giving life and they're building someone up and they're encouraging. They didn't come from you. You're like, where did that come from? That was so cool. Well, it would have come from God, who gives us good things. He gives us good gifts. So here it is. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. So he's going around. He's looking around. He's prowling. All right. And he's got his little workers, right? He's got his angels and demons. He's got his side, right? When God kicked him out of heaven, I forget what the percentage was, but there were a whole lot of angels that went with him to earth, right? He fell like lightning, and people, well, not people, other angelic beings went with him. So he's got his workers out there looking around. Who's going to buy into this thought? Oh, this person thought that whatever it was that they thought that made them choose to transition before their destiny, before they were meant to. All right. Just like the thoughts that were going through my mind about the rejection and how I didn't deserve love and how bad and awful my life was and how awful and ruined I was as a woman. These were destructive thoughts. They led me to ask God to take my life. But I know I'm not the only one. So many people this happens to, right? Some people even attempt and fail. So in this situation that this woman, this speaker had shared in this clubhouse room earlier tonight, when she said, well, after Kate did it, I noticed that this other person, Anthony, chose to leave this world early. And I said, yeah, because maybe it was like, let's see who else wants to buy into this idea. This could be in anything, right? Who wants to buy for good or for bad? Who wants to buy into the idea of cheating on their wife? Who or husband? Who wants to buy into the idea of killing someone else, taking someone else's life? Who wants to buy into the idea of stealing from an old lady or an old man because they're vulnerable and they can't fight back? Who else wants to buy into these things? Who can I get? Who can I get to go along with this lie that this idea is a good idea? Likewise, God also, it says his eyes are going to and fro on the earth, looking for people who he can use. So that means he too is actively looking to get people who might say, who he can say, like, who else can I get to help me? Who else can I get to want to encourage other people? Who else can I get to give people hope? Who else can I get to help the homeless? Who else can I get to want to and to think about helping women who have been abused or battered and giving them a safe place to hide with their children? You know, all different things, right? So just like Satan is looking for who he can devour, God is also looking for who he can use. So we as humans are actively being recruited by one side or the other. And which side are you going to get recruited by? Whose team do you want to play on? Yeah, whose team do you want to play on? And how do you get to play on the good team? Well, I shouldn't say good team. Well, there is good and evil. But how do you get on the winning team? Let's put it that way. The winning team where you win over those nasty, embarrassing thoughts and impulses, those things that would be lies. How do you overcome? It also tells us in the same verse in 1 Peter 5:8 to be alert and of sober mind. That means that if you and me and every other human on this planet is either being actively looked for and actively trying to be recruited by either God or Satan, that means we have to be alert. Oh, who's calling me? What's going on? Where is this thought coming from? Where is this impulse coming from? Why does my body feel anxious? Why do I feel fear? Why do I feel anger? Why do I feel like taking someone else's life? Why might I feel like taking my life? Be alert. Where are these things coming? We cannot be just la-di-da, not if we are actively being recruited by either team. And it says, and of sober minds. Okay. Now, I was a teacher and I love to break down words. Sober. What does that mean? Because that is key to how we can overcome the spirit of suicide. Sober, another word for sober is calm. The day that I was on the train, going back to 2018, with this new camera, depressed, feeling rejected, feeling all sorts of horrible things about myself. And I asked God to take my life. I was crying. I was not calm. I was in turmoil. Okay. So major life decisions, when we're making major life decisions, we want to do it calmly. When we are in turmoil, we do not want to make a decision. It is not going to go well. I think even the person who hurt me or the people who have hurt me, anyone who's hurt me anyway, right? The first thing to do is to, like, a lot of times, at least me, I want to snap back in anger. I want to defend myself. I am not feeling calm. That's why we sometimes need to hold our tongue and not say and not fight back verbally. Sometimes we just need to take time to cool down and then revisit. But calm also means, so then I said, well, what does calm really mean? Calm also means cool, harmonious, slow, and serene. Wait, slow. That means not hasty decisions. And you could say and maybe this is you that I'm talking to, someone a lot of times who has thoughts of suicide or suicidal ideation or mental illness, it may be something that they've been slow in taking their time to make a decision for. It's true. You might be like, well, Beth, I've been thinking for like the past 20 years that I'm done. I'm done with this world. Things are, just not working out for me. I got more than I bargained for. This is way more than I bargained for. I did not bargain for all of the things that are going on in my life right now. So I feel like I've taken my time to make this decision to transition out of this place. But I'm going to tell you why that's not the right logic in a moment. Also, comfortable. So I looked up serene, and I felt I needed to look up serene and go a little bit more comfortable. Being healed, we're not always comfortable. Sometimes it is being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Let me say that again. Part of healing, part of the healing process is becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable personally for me to sit down and process and begin being honest with myself and begin looking at God's truths. It was uncomfortable for me to forgive someone who hurt me. But at the same time, when I chose to be uncomfortable, I became comfortable with being uncomfortable. I became comfortable and at peace with the healing. Now, I want to talk to you about another famous person in the Bible. I just got real comfortable. You all can't see it, but my desk has this like little bar thing that goes across and supports the leg. I just put my feet up on it. So I got comfortable because I'm getting ready to give some more ways for you to be able to overcome the spirit of suicide. Or maybe you're not struggling with this, but you know someone who's struggling with this. So then please share this YouTube video with them so that they can get some insights and support on how to overcome the spirit of suicide. I'm also at the end in the comments to this video going to put in the suicide and crisis lifeline, which is 988. I'm going to put it in the comments so that people have resources as well to reach out to. You can use those resources even if it's not you and you're like struggling to figure out how to help someone you love or know, even, right? Call the number and be like, I know so-and-so, this person that I know is my life, they are struggling. How do I help them? What do I do? What's my next step? Sometimes we need support knowing how to help other people. So you can use it multiple ways. All right. So you may or may not be familiar with this man named Elijah. And he is from back in the day, but I feel like what he went through is a lot of what we go through. It was something I could relate to. So here's the situation. Elijah, he had a hard job. He was speaking truths to people who spoke lies. So truth and lies, when the truth and a lie, they have a conflict, right? So there were these people who he was on assignment. His assignment, his job, just like you and I have an assignment, and just like you and I have jobs, his job, his assignment was to go speak to these leaders of the nation of Israel. His job was to speak to them and tell them God's truths, and it did not go over well. You know, a liar does not really like being called on their lies. They don't like being called out. Think about it. You might know this from experience. Well, they decided, Jezebel in particular, right? The wife of the king at that time, she was like, oh, I'm done with this man, and I'm going to go after him. So he freaked out. I don't blame him, but he panicked. He became afraid. Now, fear is also a spirit, but at the root of it, fear is lies, because God says he gives us a spirit of sound mind and not a spirit of fear. I forget the exact verse. I didn't prep that verse reference, but you can look it up. Just Google spirit of sound mind, not spirit of fear, and it will pop up. Sound mind, again, has to do with being calm, cool, collected, slow to react. But when we're in fear, we go into panic mode, right? Like I had been in panic mode. I was like, well, I don't think this is going to work out for me. Maybe I will never be loved. Maybe this relationship that not the guy who physically raped me, not him, but the other person, right? The man who I loved. I was like, what if this relationship is never reconciled? I wasn't trusting God for healing that. I was not trusting God to heal me. I wasn't trusting God with anything. I was reacting in fear, which is why I said I want out. I was afraid nothing in my life would be good again, that I would never be happy, that I would never be loved. I didn't understand that I am loved and I am loving and that I am perfect, right? I didn't understand a whole lot of these things, or I didn't believe them, at least, right? I believed the lies. They were so much easier to believe. Sometimes lies are easier to believe. Sometimes the bad about us or about other people is easier to believe than the truth. So anyway, Elijah, I got a little off on a tangent. So Elijah, he freaks out. He's like, I am a dead man. These people are after me. And he just runs. He goes for it. He's out. And he goes, I'm looking at my notes. He goes and he's exhausted. He falls underneath this tree and he says, God, I'm done. I've had it. Take me out. You know, that's it. Get me out of here now. And he goes to sleep. And what does God do? God is so nice. He is our Father and he cares for us, right? A father takes care of his children. A good father takes care of his children. He sent one of his angels. Remember, God has workers too. And that angel brought him nourishment and a drink. So he nourishes him, he hydrates him. Angel wakes him up. He's like, here you go. Just drink this, eat this. Elijah goes back to sleep. The angel kind of pokes him again. Is like, hey, here you go. Here's some more nourishment. Here's something more for you to drink. And he says also to him, this is in 1 Kings 19, verse 12, I believe. No. It's in 1 Kings, I think in general in 19, but it's in 1 Kings. The angel says to him, arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you. So here's the thing. Life is too much for us sometimes. It can be too much. And God is aware that it can be too much for us. It's never his intent for us to quit on it. He intends to nourish us, to hydrate us, to sustain us. How do I know this? What's the proof? Because he did it. God is not a respecter of persons. This is not just for Elijah. This is for me. This is for you. He will nourish you if you let him. Elijah let himself be nourished. He didn't say no to the food. He chose to eat and drink, and it nourished him with strength, and he continued for 40 days. He just kept going out into the wilderness. He eventually ends up in a cave. I'm going to talk about that in a second too. But how do we get nourished, right? When we're at the end of our rope, right? And we want to call it quits. We want God to just take us out. How do we get nourished? Well, our relationships, our friendships are nourishment. Therapy can be nourishment. I myself have several different things that can help someone be nourished. I have coaching programs and I have a 20-day forgiveness journal. So I have different things that I have put together to nourish people and help people to heal. Like I said, therapy can nourish us. Taking a break. Elijah just took a nap. Take a nap. He did get out into nature. Now he was running away from his assignment. He was running away from Jezebel. He was in fear. He was in panic. But he got out into nature. Well, maybe not the best nature because he ends up in a cave. But, take a walk. Go out and it's winter right now here in New York City. That fresh air can wake us up. It can be invigorating. Or if you're in the summer, go out, literally stop and smell the roses, get in touch with your inner, your senses. Something even as simple as, now I'm giving away like some tips that I give my clients. Taking your hands, putting them under running water, right? It can be cool running water. That cool running water can kind of create that sensory, right? It can kind of put us back into our bodies. It helps us to reconnect, because when we are in emotions and we are freaking out, we are anxious, we feel like things are out of control, right? We're out of our bodies. We become disconnected. Our minds are just running everywhere with fear, with anxiety, with the lies that we are believing about ourselves or others or our future, right? But when we do something physically, like putting our hands under like this cool running water, it brings our minds and helps us to reconnect with our body, right? Which can calm us down and just reminds us what it's like to be alive. Even just, breathing, taking like 2 slow breaths in, 2 slow breaths out, again, reconnecting and our minds and our bodies together. If the anxiety and the fear is gripping your heart, you can put your hands over your heart, right? Remind yourself that you're safe, that, okay, right? This person hurt me, or that situation happened to me, this person raped me, this person beat me up, this person threw me downstairs, whatever it was, right? But you can reconnect, touch where you're feeling anxious. Maybe it's your stomach, place your hands over it and be like, but I'm not there anymore. I am not there. That was 2 days ago. That was 2 years ago. That was 20 years ago. I'm here in this moment. I'm safe and breathing and reconnecting, right? These are ways that we can begin to overcome these lies this lying spirit, these lies that are coming into our minds that are kind of ushering in the spirit of suicide, making us want to transition or, whatever it is that, is freaking us out, right? And then reach out to someone, call a friend, call 988, which is the suicide crisis hotline, reach out to someone, whatever it is that you have to do, right? But those are some ways that you can initially just begin to calm and get yourself back into a place of being calm, of being serene. That is what I'm talking about, being slow. Okay. And I was talking earlier about being slow, how to be slow, how to move slowly. Don't rush yourself. Take 10 minutes out of your day. Take 20 minutes out of your day if you need. Listen to some music. Just remind yourself, visualize that God has his right hand on you. That's one of my favorite tools. I am giving you guys all my tools tonight. Well, no, not all my tools. But I've just been so bothered by the fact that, what happened with this one man yesterday and him choosing to take his life, or leave this realm, this physical realm. That I'm like, I need to make this video and help people, because I'm going to get back to the Elijah story, I promise. I did do a little quick look, and around 130 people every day commit suicide. That adds up to a lot of people every year. That adds up to a lot of friends and family who are hurting, who are confused, who are grieving. And shockingly, I didn't know it was this high. Men account for around 69.68%. That's almost 70% of the people who choose to leave this world. They choose to leave early. They choose to alter what could have been. It's men. Men are 69.68%. So I feel like, I'm about ready to go on another tangent, but I feel like this is really an attack on men, because, as a woman, I loved having my father around, right? And I like men. And I don't mean that in a sexual or romantic way. I have guy friends, right? Men who are my friends. I just like having men and their presence in my life. It's just, they're just amazing. Women also are amazing. This is not like, I'm not trying to knock women with this, but men are really amazing. They're beautiful. And women and children and the world needs men. A good man is just, it's like a winning lottery ticket. Well, I don't really play the lottery, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying, like, it's golden. It's a gift. And there's, like, the world is filled with good men. And they're not making it. Elijah was a man, right? That I've been telling you from the Bible. The really famous celebrity who just chose to leave this world. He was a man. This really, and he was beautiful. He brought a lot of love and a lot of light into the world for so many people, through his work and through what he did with his family and through just trying to help others, right? So anyway, going back to the story about Elijah. So God nourishes him, and he nourishes him because he knows that the journey is too great for him. So he helps him, right? So allow God to nourish you in however he's trying to nourish you. Choose to let God nourish you, okay? Don't say no to his nourishment, because his nourishment, just those 2 meals, they gave him strength for 40 days, right? And that's it. Sometimes, especially with mental illness, it's one day at a time. Today, that's it. Get through today. Tomorrow, you don't have to worry about tomorrow. Anyway, tomorrow's not promised for me or you or any of us, right? Today, just get through today. And then if tomorrow comes, then that tomorrow becomes your today. And you just do it one step at a time. That's it. One day at a time. That's how, we can make it, right? When we look at the whole overall big picture, we freak out. Just like Elijah looked at the whole big picture. He was like, this woman is out for my life. So he ran, right? Well, she was out for his life. He wasn't wrong, but he didn't get through that day before he ran and asked God to take him out. He was jumping, hours, and sometimes even the day is too much for us to process, especially if it's something in terms of mental illness where someone is really struggling, right? Sometimes it's like, let me get through the next 10 minutes. Okay, I got through the next 10 minutes or the next minute. Okay, let me get through the next moment and then the next moment. So our day is even made up of little micro moments, right? And it's just about getting through each moment sometimes. So anyway, so he gets to this cave and he gets in this cave and God says to him, I want you to step out of the cave. I'm going to show you something. And so God passes before him. There's a fire, there's an earthquake, there's a whirlwind. So it's very stormy. There's all this noise, all this chaos going on around him. And then there's nothing. And then there is this very quiet voice, and that is God. And the voice says to Elijah, God's voice, his little, still, small voice. Now, you'd think he's God. There was just an earthquake. You'd think that's where God would be, right? You'd think he's God. He's God of the universe. There's just going to be this big, booming voice. No, it's actually still and small. And he says to Elijah, what are you doing here? It's just a question. He just asks him, what are you doing here? And here's the thing that I was thinking about earlier. In 1 Peter 5, verse 8, where it says, the enemy prowls around like a roaring lion, a roar that's loud. Why does Satan need to be so loud? Our thoughts, the thoughts of suicide, right? Those things can become loud. The thought of rejection, that can be so loud. The thought of self-hatred, right? My thoughts when I was not in a good place, when I was really hurting and in a very it was a lot of turmoil going on in my mind. Those thoughts were loud. They were loud to me. Thoughts of anger, those are loud thoughts, right? And when we get in a fight with someone, a lot of times, what do? We yell, we scream, we get loud. But if something is loud, it's hard to hear the quiet, right? It drowns out God's voice. That's why the enemy has to be loud, because God's not going to compete with Satan. They're like, are you kidding me? You are not my equal. You are not my competition. I made you, and I am going to take you out. You're having your day. You're having your moment right now, but I am going to take you out. And because I am so powerful, I'm not going to compete with you. I don't need to compete with you. I don't need to be loud. I can be quiet. And there is power in quietness, right? Think about a lot of times people, when they're quiet. When I was a teacher, sometimes that was my go-to, not all the time. Sometimes I got a little irritated. But most of the time, that was like my go-to. When my students started getting on my nerves and they weren't listening, I didn't say anything. I just stand there and look. All right, moment of silence from the teacher. That's it. When you're all ready, I'm waiting on you, right? You get yourself ready. I'm just going to be quiet right here. And it works. It works. Quietness can get attention, but it's hard to hear over something that's loud and roaring. So I think that might be why Satan is like a roaring lion, because we end up paying attention to the lion and it drowns out God's voice. But Anyway, so God's like, well, what are you doing here? And Elijah goes into complaining, like I did when I was asking God to take me out. He's like, well, I feel alone, and I've been zealous for you, and I've been working hard for you, and people aren't appreciating me, and no one's on my side, and everyone's against me. And now, this person, I'm doing all of this work for you, and no one is appreciating me, and I don't even feel you're appreciating me. How is this possible? I'm doing your work, and now this lady is trying to kill me. It just went off. That was in verse 14. Guess what is in 15? God was like, then the Lord said to him, go return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you arrive, and then he gives him his orders. All right. What that tells me is that we live in this moment, right? And this moment sometimes is all we can see, right? That's all he could see. He didn't see that help was on his way. He didn't see that a couple verses down, he was going to get someone to help him, that God was going to provide him with a servant, someone who would help him along the way by the name of Elisha. He didn't see that. He didn't know that. He had no idea, because when we don't know our end from our beginning. But the thing is, God does know our end from our beginning. God's like, listen, before the foundations of the earth were made, I spoke over your life, and I said what your life was going to be about. And so I moved on. All right. I know, I understand. I've nourished you. I've given you the strength, but now here's the deal, Elijah. Go, return. I don't think he likes that, right? Probably, but go your way, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you arrive. Because he knew what was coming. Elijah didn't know what was coming. And guess who ended up not making it? His enemy, Jezebel. The woman that he was running in fear from, her bones were eaten. She didn't even get a proper burial, right? Like the pharaohs of Egypt, they got these beautiful pyramids, right? And they got these elaborate funeral processions, and they were buried with reverence. And there's like a whole time for preparing their body. Oh no, that queen did not get the respect of like other ancient queens and kings. Her body ended up in the street, and her bones were like chewed on by dogs. But Elijah didn't know that. Elijah, sorry, not Elisha. He didn't know that was coming, because he couldn't see his end from his beginning. He couldn't see Jezebel's end from her beginning or from her present. She looked like she was all powerful, and she was living her life, but she didn't have the last word. And that's the thing in my life: rejection, self-loathing, fear of abandonment, insecurity. These things did not have the last word in my life. At the point I was at that particular point in my life, I didn't recognize myself when I looked in the mirror. When I look back at photos of myself from like 2017, 2018, there are some photos I was like, oh my gosh, I was in that place at one point. It's like a whole different life. It's like a lifetime ago. God will restore. We just don't see it. And we have to seek nourishment. And sometimes we can't nourish ourselves. It's more. The journey is more than we can do. And that's okay, because God will provide that nourishment. He nourished Elijah. He has nourished me with his love. He sent Elijah help. He sent him a servant named Elisha. God has since sent even to me people who have helped me in my life. So, you know, it's not that we're meant to go it alone, right? Anything that says you are alone is a lie, right? Anything that, okay, so here's the other thing. This is what I wanted to share as well. Anything that would steal, kill, or destroy, lies, murder, cheating, adultery, things like that, anything that's going to destroy something, a relationship, someone's future, someone's heart, words, abusive words, telling someone that they will never amount to anything. You're just like your mother. You're just like your father. You're just like, you're no good, right? Any like words, right? That phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words really stick because our words continue on. They never die. God's word is eternal. Our words continue also, you know, our words just continue and go on and on and on. So our words are so powerful. And so we have to speak words of life. We have to pray over ourselves. We have to pray over our loved ones. We never know what someone else is struggling with. Our words, our prayers are eternal. Those things are precious to God. Even our tears, when we cry out to God, those are eternal. He has around his throne bottles of our tears, right? These things are all precious to God. And so he's going to make sure that he takes care of us one way or another. We just don't always see it. We just don't always feel it, but it's there. And we have to be very careful of the words that we speak to others, very careful of the words we speak to ourselves, and very, very, very careful about the words we listen to, because not every word that someone shares is a good word for us. Now, I recently have read some articles that have disturbed me to the core, have emotionally, like, again, I'll be honest, I felt like kind of raw emotionally from reading them, like very painful for me to read. In Canada, I was reading, there was this priest who created a prayer for people who want to die, who want to leave this earth and want to transition. And in this prayer, it was like, I have peace, help my family, have peace with my choice. It is this prayer. This pastor, he is not of life. He is of death. That is a destruction, right? So this priest, not all clergy are meant to be listened to. Not every clergy's word is meant to be listened to. I saw a commercial. I don't know if it was put out by the Canadian government or if it was put out by a Canadian agency. I'm not quite clear on who put this commercial out, but it was this commercial advertising and promoting people to take their own lives, and with assisted transport out of this world, euthanasia. That again is something that is going to destroy people. People are not going to understand this. Okay, now, how do you know if something is from God or from Satan? So when your thoughts, this is like a way to filter and know it. If God gives us good gifts here, and he is also, you know, a spirit, the Holy Spirit, he gives us these gifts. These are the things that we get. Love. I'm going to read my list because I always forget at least one or two of them. I want to make sure I get them all. Love, peace, kindness, self-control, which kind of goes back to that being cool, calm, and collected. Faithfulness, joy, patience, goodness, and gentleness. And the Spirit of God, things, there's 7 spirits of God. His 7 spirits are wisdom, wisdom, which is like revelation, understanding, which is like faith, certainty, and enlightenment, counsel, it's like the advice or guidance, right? But it has to be that counsel has to result in love, in in peace, in kindness, in faithfulness, in joy, right? So those organizations and those priests or pastors or religious leaders who are teaching that it's okay to choose to leave this life, and even people who are like, if you have a mental illness and it's too hard for you, listen, you think God didn't know that you were going to be struggling with different issues? You think he didn't know that, and he doesn't have a plan to for everything that we have as a problem? God has a solution of some sort. Sometimes we need help finding that solution. We need guidance, right? We need counsel. But if it is something that's going to steal, kill, or destroy our life or someone else's life, it is not good counsel. Another spirit of God is might, the strength, the victory, which is what I'm trying to give you guys right now on how to overcome the spirit of suicide. These are tips. Knowledge, which is understanding of information, making connections in truth, and the fear of the Lord, which is just basically having respect for him. We're not supposed to be, like, oh my goodness, I'm too afraid. I've messed up. I have screwed up. I have screwed up beyond belief. And now, like, I'm doomed and God will never forgive. Not that kind of fear. Just having respect. It's like a respect, So, and if you don't have these things, ask for it. God will give us anything that we ask for according to his will. It is for his will for us to have love and joy and peace. If it wasn't his will, he wouldn't have created these things. Whatever he creates, joy, peace, gentleness, kindness, these things, that's we're meant to flourish. We are his daughters, and sons, right? If we don't have wisdom, like, or understanding, we're like confused about what to do, ask for understanding. What do I do? Enlighten my mind with your thoughts, with your words. Lead me to different things. That was a lot of my healing journey, was asking God, I don't know what to do. I know I need help. I know I need to heal. I don't even know where to begin. Then he led me one step at a time. He led me to books. He led me to different things. He led me to different YouTube channel that of people who I would listen to get knowledge, because I needed knowledge. Like, I didn't know how to heal. Joyce Meyer's was The Battlefield of the Mind, was one of the first books I read. It gave me knowledge. It let me know that my mind is absolutely, my mind is going crazy because it is a battlefield. My thoughts are all out of control because I'm having a battle right now. And I'm not fighting against any person. I'm fighting a spiritual battle of lies, of deception, of things that are coming to steal, to kill, destroy my peace. So if something is leading you to be confused, if people are like, this was something I shared in the clubhouse room. If people, think about it this way. If you're having a birthday party, it's your 40th, it's your 35th, it's your 21st, it's your birthday, your 50th, your 80th, whatever it is. You're like, I want to celebrate. Let's turn up. People are like, yeah. Ooh, I'm right there with you. I get it, right? If you're like, it's my wedding anniversary, hey, 50 years with my husband, people are like, yeah, I get wanting to celebrate that. Let's celebrate that. Let's take party photos. Let's have cake. Let's laugh. Let's dance, right? Let's celebrate. People get that. But when you're like, I don't want to live anymore, there's nothing left for me, people are like, I don't understand. And that's the thing, right? With this recent celebrity, people are like, I just don't understand. Now, functional depression is a real thing, and most people don't understand it. But the fact is that because people are confused by it, that's a sign that it comes from Satan, that it comes from the demonic, that it comes from a dark world that's out to steal, kill, and destroy, because it's confusion. Anything that's confusing, God is a God of understanding, and he's a God of order. And when there's order, like I'm having a 40th birthday party, there's been an order. I had year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, right? Leading up to year 40. There is order. And as a result of that order, it makes sense to everyone to celebrate. But when you're like, no, when you have lies and you have deception and you have pain, there's no order in that. Your thoughts are going all over. They're running around in fear. There's no order in circles and going in circles and going in up and downs. That's not order. So that's a sign. If you don't know, if something is out of control and confusing, it's a sign that you are being attacked, that you are being lied to, that you're being manipulated by fear or rejection or jealousy or anger. Whatever, something is manipulating you. But when you are clear, you're calm, you're comfortable even with being uncomfortable, you're working in truths, when there is joy, peace, love, patience, all those fruits of God's Spirit, where there's wisdom, where there's understanding, where there's good counsel, wise counsel, godly counsel, you know that those things are from God. And so think about when you are listening to people, when you are listening to messages, whether it's on the news, whether you're listening to a pastor, even everything that I am saying, go look it up. Verify about Elijah in the story and what he did and what God said to him and how God helped him and what happened, and how in the end, not only did Elijah live, his enemy was wiped out, and she had a terrible end, right? So we don't know what's going to happen, right? Because we just only can see what we can see. And he needed help. God gave him a friend. He gave him a servant, Elisha. So we will always get things from God to help us, right? So these are things, and we have to be able to accept those gifts. It is a choice. We have a choice. We can say, no, God, I don't want your gifts. Elijah could have said, no, God, I don't want your gift. I don't want the food. I don't want the nourishment that you've sent your angel to bring me. No, I don't want this servant, Elisha. He could have said no. For whatever reason, he chose to say yes. And by choosing to say yes, it all ended up being okay. So choose to say yes. Choose to just take it moment by moment. But choose to say yes to God and his order. This will help you to overcome. So I hope whatever it is that you are struggling with. So I hope that this helps. If this is you and you're able to relate to any of this at this moment in time, if this is not you, but you know someone who has been struggling to overcome, thoughts of suicide or suicidal ideation or any of those things, or just in general has been struggling with depression, or, it's very, our minds, our bodies, our spirits, our emotions, everything about us is so complex. And I think that, sometimes the church has just tried to deal with the spirit and not with like the physical response, right? Like my initial trauma, the rape, that happened physically to my body. As a result, it affected my mind and my emotions. And so I had to heal. I had to actually heal my physical body. I had to heal emotionally, and I had to heal spiritually. It's a very complex thing, which is why when I do coaching with people, either my group or my individual one-to-one, And even my forgiveness journal, my 20-day forgiveness journal, I literally focus in on mind, body, and spirit. The mind, the heart, and the physical aspect, right? Map out how to heal. Map mind, heart, which is like kind of like an A, and P, physical. We are complex. This is not, especially with mental health issues, just like a one thing. And sometimes it can be just one thing, right? I'm not saying, it can't be, but we're complex. Healing is complex. It takes time, and then we have to maintain it, right? Some things that we have to heal from, we have to maintain. And I think that is something else that we struggle with and that the church has not really talked about. Forgiveness, a lot of times people don't forgive themselves, and that could lead to them choosing to leave this world and want out. I made these choices, I made these mistakes. I can't live with myself anymore. I want out. This is more than I bargained for. But that is not true. Those are lies. One moment, one day, just 1 second even at a time. You keep going. Say yes to God leading you. Remember, it is complex. It's not just like a one stop, a one prayer. Sometimes it is. People can be just delivered with a prayer. This happens. People have these testimonies. But sometimes certain things like unforgiveness, Satan will trick us and they'll be like, we really chose to forgive someone. We chose in a moment, I'm going to forgive this person for doing X, Y, or Z to me. Now, 3 days later, 3 years later, maybe even 30 years later, something happens. And for whatever reason, that's something that's totally unrelated to what happened to us 3 days ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 years ago, 30 years ago, triggers that feeling of anger and resentment and just hurt that we felt towards someone or about something. And now we're angry at them all over again, and we doubt and we think we didn't forgive them. But we did. It's just that we have to maintain it. And I'm happy if you have any questions to share, and I'll put them in the comments below, tools that you can have, because a lot of times these lies, this lying spirit, these lies that Satan will like get us to believe about ourselves, they form our false identity. And we have this fake false identity and we don't even know it, right? Think about, the people in college, right? I didn't have one, but I knew people who had one. Fake ID. You're not really 21, but your fake ID says you're 21. And so you're in the club. Oh, yeah, having a good time with your fake ID. Well, the enemy will give us a fake ID. He will lie to us about who we are. He will steal, kill, and destroy who we are. And as a result, we believe certain things about ourselves. We believe certain things about our futures. We believe sometimes that we have screwed up beyond redemption. Nothing is beyond redemption. And I mean nothing, which can be the hard part for someone who's been hurt. Nothing. Even people who have led genocides against whole groups of people, even those people, if they repent to God, can be redeemed. And I know that's like a hard truth that a lot of people think is not fair, but God's forgiveness, and what he says about you, what he says about me, what he says about everyone, that's the truth. And that's what heals. And he gives us a new identity. We have the broken identity. And that's what I had, was a broken identity. And I had to learn how to map out and create a new identity. God had to show me how to do that. And that's something that I can help you, and I can help anyone. Well, maybe not anyone. You have to be a good fit. Because everything that I teach is from a Christian perspective. So even if someone's not Christian, they need to be open to Christian principles and rules, right? They have to be open to that in order for me to be able to help someone go through the process of mapping out and their God identity, the true identity, who they truly are, right? But it doesn't have to be me. It could be any, and the right therapist, the right friend, the right mentor, the right coach, the right books, the right videos, the right even the right things to study when you're studying the Bible, right? Sometimes I'll be like, what should I be reading? What should I be reading right now, God? I'll ask him, where should I go even in the Bible to read, to get information, right? So, we have to redefine our identity. Sometimes our identity is so broken because of the lies and the lies that Satan has been poking and pushing into our thoughts, that our identity has to be redefined and healed, and redefined and healed on the truth. And the truth is God's word, not what the world says, not what society says, not even what all pastors say. Some of them are out there teaching lies. They're servants of Satan, not servants of the Most High God. So that's what I wanted to share. I did not mean to go an hour and 16 minutes. I said I'm going to just jump on and do a 30-minute live, but this was what I felt was on my heart to share. So there you have it. All right. So have a wonderful evening. I'm going to put the links to the suicide crisis hotline as well in the comments below. All right. Peace.